Did they just fall over in there or something?
Zombie Apocalypse brought to you by Fanboy TV.
We're the only ones living.
I'm Chris-Rachael with Fanboy TV. Welcome back to another episode of The Future Is Now. I'm here with Gavin and Maggie, and today we're going to discuss the exciting, not always great implications,
the pros
and cons, shall we say, of digital media everything.
Which, I kind of like, but what are your thoughts on it, first of all?
Well, I like the idea of the Internet of Things being able to move through my life, my house, that I could just sort of wave a hand.
Now, for people out there that don't know what the Internet of Things means, can you, two-sentence description?
Let's say everything has its own computing intelligence. So your table, your wall, the ceiling, the bed, everything, sensors, and they're all talking to one another.
My favorite example of this, for example, is your fridge that knows when your groceries are going bad and can let you know when you go to the grocery store if you say, I want to make a roast chicken tonight. They're like, oh, you left that chicken in there for 6 days. That one needs to go. Buy a new chicken. And while you're at it, these carrots are looking a little off.
Yeah, and the idea of, not unlike the hideous movie Prometheus, when she moves into her room and swipes and, there's those screens and, everything's adjusting to temperature, that sort of thing. So I like the idea. That's really appealing to me. But, we always have that dystopian little thing screaming in the background, like, what if everything goes down, what if everything goes... Okay,
Why does it explosions?
You welcome our overlords.
So, and I think the thing that people fear about the Internet of Things is hacking. I mean, what if you're like, I've got my house at the exact perfect temperature, I've got everything set up in my oven, so dinner's gonna start cooking, so it'll be ready the minute I get home. My toaster actually talks back to me in a Battlestar Galactica voice, just for no reason, because I like it. And then somebody hacks it, and instead you've got, hello, I'm making you toast.
Guys, you're gonna love it.
And everything is burned, and it's freezing, and it's the middle of summer, and it's hugely expensive. This could happen if you don't have, good protection on your house. But in the same take, I can't get that upset about that because by the same token, someone can burn your house down. Like if someone just wants to destroy you, that's not a new thing.
And so, when people look at the digital media future and the Internet is everything, people are so resistant to change. Why do you think they're so resistant to change? I mean, you can't be paranoid through life and say, oh no, what if my wall gets hacked and decides to crush me, You can't do that. I mean, you have to be able to embrace the type of things that just make life more fun.
I agree with that. I think that one of the things that people have issues with is the idea of disposability, because we see all the technology around us as being something that's only good for 18 months at the most.
That's a great point.
One of the technologies I'm super excited about is LED walls. Your average house is inhabited for less than 40 years. LED lights theoretically could last 40 years. Instead of having a lamp on your ceiling or actual physical lamps, there's no reason why you couldn't have your entire wall covered with LEDs of different colors that you can turn into whatever design you want for whatever level of illumination you want. Yes, your wall will burn out in 40 years. Sell your house 35 years after you buy it.
Or replace the wall.
But the number one objection to putting something like that's a technology you can have right now, by the way. You can go out and do that tomorrow at Home Depot. People say they don't want to do it because they're afraid it'll affect the property value of their house and things along those lines.
That's stupid. You're in a house to live in it, okay? If you're only thinking about how much you're going to get out of it, you're not living life properly.
Go live in a condo instead.
Well, and I gave a talk to a Chamber of Commerce in a small town in West Virginia in 1997. And they scoffed at me, saying the internet was just a passing fad. So,
I bet they're eating crow right now. So I find it interesting, when we talk about the internet is everything, and then when you go to the other aspect of, I have an entire library of books right here on this laptop, and people look at me like I'm crazy. Oh, it's not a book. Well, it is a book. I just prefer the digital form.
I get that for my Kindle all the time. There are The price point is the only reason I'm not buying everything on the Kindle. Because if it's $16 for a Kindle book or $14 for the physical copy, I'm probably still going to buy the physical copy just because it's cheaper. That's a distribution issue. That is not a technology issue. But you can tell when I got my Kindle, like there it is, 2011. The new books stop on my shelves. There's a handful a year after that. And it's so great. Like if you're in the middle of reading a series you love and you get to the last one, you're like, oh, there's 3 more books. And it's Sunday at 5 p.m. I can't even get to a Barnes & Noble. I can have the next page in 5 minutes.
It's fantastic for research. And,
the searchability on it.
Oh, yeah, it's phenomenal.
When I was working on my Hobbit cookbook, one of the things I wanted to see how many times you reference lemons. Honest to goodness, a thing that came up. I was able to just literally search The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings for the word lemon. And if I had to do that by hand, that would be me and a research assistant for ages.
Ever.
And it was a 5-minute search. I was able to do that with a ton of referencing of food in any of the research I do for my food cookbooks.
See, the other thing I like about the digital stuff is I'm all about the cloud. I've got so much in my Google Drive that I can access it no matter where I'm at.
Exactly.
I absolutely love that.
So here's my pro and con of that. I adore the cloud myself. I still have backups of everything from before the cloud, but at this point, yeah, I'm just going to use it all the time. Time Warner recently upgraded my apartment complex so that everyone has, And what that means is we now all have Australian internet speeds because everybody's got it. The pipe's the same size. There's just a lot more straws trying to get into that pipe. And it's killing me. I am actually to the point of, am I going to have to go buy a physical CD of a word processor to install?
Can you even buy a physical CD?
It's so. I guess I could go to a coffee shop and download
a
word processor from there because the speeds are that much faster. And that's a distribution issue, not a technology issue.
Well, the other thing when you talk about distribution issues, you talked about the Kindle, the price difference. I don't quite understand why they're charging the same price for a digital copy as for a physical copy. I love my Xbox One, and I would be all about the digital gaming if they weren't charging me the same price for the digital game as the hard copy game. It makes no sense.
Maybe it's just because we're in transition and flux
No, it's
right
all
now.
about marketing.
Okay.
It's all about marketing.
It's all about, I don't know what it is.
Amazon recently sent out a bunch of crazy person letters.
Crazy person letters, huh?
They did, yeah. Because the whole Amazon Hachette thing is going on. And as someone who has ebooks out there, I get the crazy letters from Amazon.
I gotcha.
And they were basically trying to talk all of their authors into sending hate mail to Hachette, who we have no relationship with, and why would we do that? And what it really comes down to in both cases, though, is how are you going to make money off of something that's already a marginal business at best? Neither side is actually making much money off of ebooks, and so both sides are just trying to find a way to get market share. That's all this is about, is market share and profitability. It seems like you ought to be making hand over fist off of a $10 ebook, and you're not. You're really not, because you still have to have a cover artist and an editor, copy editor. Dear God, hire a copy editor if you don't have one and you're doing indie books.
I need one.
And then the actual physical distribution, advertising, things along those lines, that all still costs money, even though the print book doesn't. And so you're not going to see, and it's just not that profitable an industry. You've also got to have all the servers and things like that. If you're not making enough money for them to justify the server farm, all those ebooks are going away.
So, but the problem is you're not having to go through the production cost of making the physical copy. So some of that should come up.
So they're trying to recoup some of the costs that because they've been losing money on print books for years. So trying to recoup some of that with ebooks.
Because nobody reads.
Here's the thing: everybody reads.
I do.
Everybody reads. You wouldn't have iPads and especially Kindle Fires out there if it wasn't for the fact that people today actually read more than they have ever before in history. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. We like to believe people don't read because, now that you've got something that people can't see the cover on, you can go read your porn and nobody cares.
Or your fanfics.
Or your, congratulations. I'm sure that your Kermit Green Lantern fanfic is really getting some
you have no
traction.
idea.
I sit somewhere in between because, other people collect action figures or whatever. I collect antique books, right? I like the smell and the tactile, but I'm not buying as many because, on the other hand, I like being able to be mobile and be able to experience more, move quickly.
Oh, if
and,
you're going to fly, you don't want to. I used to have to bring 3 books with me on a flight because I read pretty quickly. I can now bring one really slim thing. It makes it easier for everyone.
Yeah, and just being able to have that, I think with the change thing, people are terrified of change in general. So you're going to have, I think it's all about experience instead of this sort of safety.
But here's the thing with that. we like to believe that change is something that's brand new and endemic to modern
Exactly,
society.
I know.
But my great-grandmother left the East Coast. I don't even know what city she was in, but she left on a Conestoga wagon for Oklahoma and lived to see a man land on the moon in one human lifetime. Don't tell me that change is new when you go from dirt floors on a wagon
Precisely.
to watching your TV with a man landing on the moon in what, 70 years?
Yeah.
I think, you know, she has a point where, you know, people are afraid of change. I don't know why they're afraid of change, because she experienced a whole lifetime of change. We don't have that much change as she went through. Seriously, I mean, our technology gets better and things get easier, but we're not having such a drastic shift, so why would we be having more problems than when you go from a dirt farm to the moon?
I think the reason behind it is, and this is one of the things as a historian that I love, kids these days, it's people of all ways, through all, like, the first 3 things humans bothered to write was accounting, because you really kind of needed to know if some guy, you know, had part of your sheep and whatnot as far as trade. Then we went to gods, then we went to kids these days, in that order, if you actually want to look at ancient Sumerian texts. People have been bitching about kids these days as long as there have been people. Ancient Romans, oh my goodness, Suetonius was cutting people's heads off and had lists of people that you could murder for money out in the court square. But man, by the time Augustus came around, people that lived through that are saying, well, yeah, sure, all of my uncles got murdered, but kids back then respected their elders, and I wish we had the kind of discipline they had back then.
Yeah.
This is just a facet of aging. And the unfortunate thing about it is, because it's a facet of aging, people these days are making it reflect on technological changes instead of just, oh, kids these days.
Well, and it is definitely it's not age itself doing it. It's the sort of construct we have. It's that's what you do as you get older.
Yeah.
Because I just turned 50, and I don't want to have anything to do with most of the people I know who are 50, because they're like, yeah, you get off my lawn, you know. And it's like,
You really?
hey, let's go get
I want to
control.
see these people, because I want to grow up to be one of those cranky old men who sits in the yard and yells at people that are like across the street, you know?
Well, I yell at people, but for different reasons. It's like stupidity. Just go away. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's a mindset, and some kids actually have it now. I've noticed, because I teach some kids at my daughter's school, but some of them are already getting that mindset. So it's interesting. That's a whole other show.
Some
I
of
think
it ties back to we are expected to learn more and do more than people did before. Literacy, for example, we were bringing up books just a couple minutes ago. 150 years ago, a 4th grade reading level, like, you were smart. That was fantastic that you were able to go to school long enough to get that level of literacy. Now we're expecting everybody to have a 12th grade reading level as a base minimum, and probably a little more than that. And while you're at it, you're not just learning reading, writing, and arithmetic. You're learning how to use a computer and social media. It's more stuff to learn. And I think there is a certain resistance from people that in previous generations would have been allowed to just go farm and not have to think too hard, to be like, no, you're making me think all the time.
Well, and also the work I'm doing in education, the system as it's set up now is not set up for whether it's on purpose or not, it's debatable, but to teach the process of learning, to encourage learning, because you're a lifelong learner if you're excited about it from the get-go. But we're just educated. Yeah. That's all we really are. It's just educated, and a lot of people have the idea that, okay, I graduated high school or I graduated college, I don't have to think anymore, unless you're a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. But
oh, you'd be amazed at the number of doctors that think they don't have to think anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I know. What?
But anyway, with exciting digital media future, I feel like almost all of the negatives of it are distribution issues and not technology issues. Can you think of any issues that are straight up the technology itself is something and not getting it into people's hands via something better than our current internet?
No, I mean, there's the whole industry thing about, because it's digital, it's easier to pirate and steal. There's that aspect of it that people are like really afraid of. But I mean,
that comes back to changes in copyright law.
Yeah, I just love the fact that, like you said earlier, I could be mobile. I used to have an entire library of books that burned up in the house fire, and to try to replace all those was ridiculous. Where I could just go download them and put them on a little card that's this big. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love technology. I love the ease of it.
I think the only thing I'd worry about going into a dystopian mode,
totally.
with the books anyway, would like being, like digital book burning in a way, or digital banned books. what if there's some sort of thing that emerges there where it's like, no, you cannot read this.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, there was a thing a
There's
while back
always
with
a way to
Amazon.
find it.
Yeah. There's a thing a while
those are
back
the
with
people I'm
Amazon of them deleting a book that someone had bought. I don't remember all the details of it,
Interesting.
but they're technically, you could say that you're leasing your books as opposed to buying them if they have any type of DRM on them. DRM is a genuine issue, I feel, for digital technology issue, because Cory Doctorow, for example, has some great things in his books about how we might be in the middle of what will someday be a dark age, because we're no longer putting things in print, but we have so much DRM. Can you go back and read your WordPerfect 5.1 files from the 90s? Do you have them on a disk somewhere? All that is probably gone now. And we're not quite to the point where everything's on the cloud. So that is going to be a big fuzzy area for future historians to figure out what the heck was going on.
Oh, they're going to be totally confused when they see nothing but internet cat videos and memes.
These people worshipped cats more than the Egyptians did.
So that's been our talk today about the interesting, internet life and digital media future right here on The Future Is Now.
I would love it if you guys will come in the comments and let us know what it is that we're missing out on. Tell us why we should be afraid. And if you think we're being far, far too optimistic or pessimistic, tell us why that we need a more utopian view of it. We want to hear from you.
We've got one more show to go for The Future's Now. That's going to be next week. We'll see you guys then. I have no idea what's going on.
I'll start this one then. All right, silence. Silence, children.